All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Soul Online Network Private Podcast. I am your host, 𝗏𝗲 𝗔𝗲𝗄𝗏, and I am so excited to bring you just powerful conversations over the next few weeks, months, just with our featured leaders, collaborators, healers, and everyone in between, because these conversations are going to help you just connect deeper, lead with authenticity, and really just create a life and business that feels so good and feels aligned from the inside out. So I'm grateful to have you all here. So whether you're catching this live or on the replay, thank you for tuning in. Today, we have a very special guest, Monique Alvarez, who we've given the title of the Queen of Networking because she has truly mastered the art of connection and really loves teaching others how to do the same. Monique is also the founder of 𝗓𝗵𝗲 Publishing, which is how our paths connected and we first got together and really where our collaboration journey began. So I'm excited to have you here today. Welcome, Monique.
Thank you for having me, 𝗏𝗏. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so I feel like I want to give people a little bit of the background story of just how our journeys began so that they can see what it's like to really form a collaboration and have that expand and grow. So I met Monique, well, it's almost 2 years, but I think about it because I'm like, wow. But really, our collaboration began around 2 years ago when I decided I wanted to bring to life a book called Latinas Rising. Well, at that time, and actually it was in September that I said, let's do this. At that time, Monique, it wasn't the one that I was connecting to and talking to, it was someone else in her team. And over time, it just led to, hey, let me talk to Monique. And we ended up in conversation on the DMs, I'm going to say almost every day.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's how it was supposed to be, but that's how it evolved. And I think it's so beautiful because while our journey began as collaboration partners, you having a publishing company, helping me bring a collaboration book to life, it then evolved into I became your client because I wanted to learn more from you. And then somehow it evolved into a friendship that I don't think I anticipated or foresaw even evolving into that. And today I have to say it's really all of the above,
Mm.
you know. Um, I think I'll probably continue to be your client on and off, depending on what you're offering, right? And I just find this to be beautiful because you just never know where a relationship, a collaboration, a client to, mentor or coach, where that's going to take you. So that's kind of where our journey began and where we're at today. And it's just, for me, it has evolved beautifully.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't know about you, Monique, and I know I'm like talking here because I wanted people to just really get that background, and it's really been almost 2 years of connection, and I just see that continuing on and off at whatever capacity it may be.
I agree. I actually remember at the point that I decided to step in and start having conversations with you. And the reason why is because I was frustrated with how the team member was handling the relationships. I just felt like it was too hands off. And I kept saying with collaborations, there has to be a clear leader and you've got to be in more communication. And, the truth is like my life path number, my human design, everything is about communication, communication, communication. And I remember I sent you a message and we started talking back and forth. And I told Derek, "Oh, I like 𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏 has it." And he's like, what's it? And I go, like it. She just has it. And we, like you said, we spoke every single day. Your book took off, you filled your spots, and then it just kept going. And I agree, it's all the above. And that's the beauty of collaborations. And when you are in communication with people, it can become a lot of things and things that you didn't even anticipate.
Yes. Now, there is so many things that you and I can talk about. And if people are interested, I mean, there's plenty of lives and things that we've done together. But really today, I want to dive into the power of networking, and not just networking, but networking like the rich, because that is something that you talk about a lot. And I have to say, I think there may be some people that when they hear network like the rich, they might get a little standoffish. It's almost like the sound of it may turn people off, and some people just lean right in. And if I'm honest, I think it's the word rich and just the
Yes.
connotation that that word itself has, and it means so many different things to people. But I want to hear from you specifically, why networking like the rich? So tell us more about that. I'm going to leave it.
Well, you're absolutely right. And what I love about it is that it does that. It polarizes. It's going to turn some people off and it's going to turn some people on. And the truth of the matter is if money and if being rich turns somebody off, I'm not the right person for them because I talk about money all the time. You grow up and it's like, okay, don't talk about money, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. I'm going to talk about money all day long, but the truth of the matter is this phrase is like most of the book titles that we've done. I was laying in bed in the early morning. I'd went to the bathroom, I'm falling back to sleep, and network like the rich it was just boom in my head. I stumble around, I find my phone, I type it out because I was afraid I'd forget it. And the next morning I told Derek, network like the rich. That's it. And I did the 3-day event, then turned it into the 12-day challenge, got all the things. And it just absolutely was perfect because when you know how to network, when you know how to cultivate relationships, when you are doing this properly, you will get rich. But not only will you get rich, everyone around you will get rich. And I say in the 12-day challenge that the whole foundation is that if you leave people better than you found them, they will always be excited to see you, hear from you. They'll be excited about what you're putting together. They'll want to participate. And that is the foundational component of how I network.
Yeah. So now I want you to just talk a little bit about, network like the rich isn't what most people think it is, right? So why don't you elaborate a little bit more on that so people can understand your vision behind it?
I think most of the people who are drawn to me and most of the people who've been in the 12-day challenge, I think there's, I don't know, 60 some who've been in so far. I have different assignments, and one of them is about identifying, what you want what you want to happen when you network. And I can't tell you how many people sent me a message that said, I don't want to network and it just feels transactional. I actually do care about getting to know people. And because they were so heavy on caring about getting to know people and they genuinely love connection, they were forgetting that there's also, oh, by the way, this should benefit our businesses. And so most people, they choose the relationship or they choose the transaction, they don't bring them together. And the truth of the matter is this is that if I cultivate a relationship with someone over 3, 6, 12 months and they don't make more money as a result, I am not doing this right. And no matter who we are or how right we are in our heart, how good and pure our intentions are, if I'm networking with someone and my business doesn't grow, I'm going to think twice about continuing that relationship because that's the point. So when people hear network like the rich, it's never what they think. My dad always taught me you have to learn sales and you have to learn networking. And I read every single book in high school. I mean, we go to Barnes and Noble, we go to Phoenix, we go to Albuquerque, we go to Denver, and I'd buy all these books, and every single expert would basically say the same thing. is people have to be better. Their lives have to be better. Their businesses have to be better. Otherwise, they're going to ignore your phone call. They're going to ignore your email. They don't want to do the next thing with you, because if their life isn't better, why would they invest more time with you?
Yeah. And that's something I do want to say about you, Monique, is that you bring it all. You're not like other people. And you and I have obviously talked a lot. So you've had a chance to hear from me when certain collaborations just haven't gone the way they were meant to, because to your point, you put in so much time into a relationship, and it's getting nowhere, right? And I think there is so much of that, right? And you talk about it too, where it's like sometimes you go into networking events and it's like, oh, I just want to meet people, just a little meet and greet. That does nothing, which I think is the same reason why people do not like attending networking events. Now, I'll say my collaborations with you are just what you said, right? I mean, I don't think I've totaled it up, but it's got to be over 20K that I've been able to bring in as a result of collaborating with you, which, I mean, that's in less than 2 years. So if you truly know how to connect, if you truly know how to collaborate, it does benefit both parties. It does benefit. And that's what I love about what you teach people. And I highly recommend anyone who wants to just get to know a little bit about this. Monique has a 12-day challenge, which is super easy. And we'll talk more about what she has coming up as well. But there's certain things that Monique will teach you that you just can't unsee later. And those are the things that change the way you approach networking, right? I can't tell you how many times I've asked someone who I've connected with, how can I support you? I don't know. No one's ever asked me that question, right? And truly, it changes the way things work. And there's one other thing that you talk a lot about, and it's doing business alone and what it costs you, right? And I have to interject here and add something else off topic, because it's something that came to me and I shared with you yesterday, Monique. And you always talk about you never want to do business alone. And that's something that you teach, how to train people to share your offers, to connect. And, you know, you can learn all that in Monique's different offerings. Go to her live from this morning and do different things, right? You will always hear these things. And to me, I thought, well, I'm not doing things alone. And I sent Monique a message yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, I had this like aha moment where through a meditation and through like an age regression session, it came to me that it was like my body had encoded that getting help was not okay. Through a past memory, through a past experience that came to me through this hypnotic age regression, right? And it just clicked, where it's like, how many people walk around not knowing how to do business, how to do things, not because they're not trying, but because there's something deeper, right? So it's like, to me, business is it entails everything. Getting to know yourself, understanding yourself, letting go of beliefs that no longer serve you. And that right there, where it was like, I identified the different moments in my life where it was like, one, it's not okay to get help. How embarrassing for somebody to help you. That just means that you can't do it alone, right? And then after that, what came to me were the different moments where I asked for help and I didn't receive it. And I specifically remember saying, if I do anything in my life, it's because I'm going to do it myself, not because anyone helped me. And it's like unconsciously, those are things that were just like in my body that I would have to say they subconsciously were a block in one way or another. So to me, it was like, you know? I'm like, but I am allowing people to help me and I am collaborating, I am connecting. But there's always things a little bit deeper that sometimes we don't even understand. There's so many people that say, I'm doing everything, but something's not clicking. So tell us, how do you do it differently in terms
Mm,
of not doing business alone?
Well, to your point, I'm just going to lay this out. If you were raised by a boomer, you were raised with this belief: if you want it done right, do it yourself. You were raised to believe that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And you were raised to believe that hard work is the ultimate path to everything you want. If you were raised by a boomer, and for sure if you were raised by a first generation American, this is what has been instilled into your entire belief system. Okay. God bless them. But our generation is actually here to say, no, working together is a good thing. Doing it together, we can get there faster. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, wisdom, and it's a good thing. And working hard and making things harder is not going to get us any gold stars. It's just
Mhm.
going to give us disease and burnout and, bitterness and all the rest of it. So this is exactly what you said. This is what we're working through. When Derek and I started our business, I didn't have the luxury of thinking we got this on our own. I knew we didn't. I had just come back from living overseas. I had come back with malaria. The year before I got married, I was like bedridden on my back all year. I would crawl to the bathroom. That's the state I was in. I had parents who had businesses. I had grandparents who had businesses. I was never taught business. No one in my family looked at me and said, you know what, she's got potential. We're going to teach her business. In fact, where I live, everyone passes their businesses on to their kids. No one wanted me involved in the family businesses, and everyone in my family has a business. They didn't see me as having it like I knew you had it. So when Derek and I started, I said, I need help. I need support. My family, they're far away and they're doing their own thing. But I'm going to walk into these networking events and I'm essentially going to find the people who've done the most, who've been the most successful, who've accomplished everything I want to accomplish. And I'm going to stand right next to them and I'm going to listen in and I'm going to learn from them every single time I'm around them. And I put together, and I tell this all the time, I asked 12 individuals, would you do this over the course of the next year? I'll do this for you. You do this for us. And we supported each other through that whole first year of business. And that's how we grew our business. And I think for most people, the idea is like, well, I'm starting my business, so of course I have to do it myself. Of course I'm the only one promoting. Who's going to promote my stuff? They have their own stuff. We have never promoted a single offer alone. I mean, you can see, I'll open up my social media and my feed is full of people sharing our events, our offers, sharing testimonials, and that's by design because I knew we couldn't do it alone.
Yeah. As you were talking, you made me think about something that you also talk a lot about. And it's when people are starting their business, wanting to support those that are at the bottom versus going straight to the top. And that's what you did. You went to the people that were already making the kind of money that you wanted to make. You were solving problems for the rich. So talk to us a little bit about your perspective on those that are starting, which I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. I was there. I mean, I'm not like shying
It's
away from it. Like
yeah.
I was there.
It's common. So what most people do is they say, I'm starting my business. I'm a beginner, right? I don't have a track record, or I don't have testimonials, or I don't have features in the media, or I don't have yada, yada. So I'm going to start with people who are also at the beginning, and I'm going to try to sell them what I have, even though they don't have the money to invest in it, right? And it feels like that's the easiest, most logical thing to do. And I observed this. In fact, I recently had this moment. So a Facebook memory popped up, right? Love these Facebook memories. And it popped up to a guy I used to network way back in the day in Tucson. And this was the guy, I actually used him as an example in my challenge of how he presented his offer and how I presented my offer. We did very similar things. And he went for the new people, for the beginners. He was always trying to be affordable and accessible and all those words, right? And he popped up in a memory, and I actually couldn't help myself. I clicked over on his profile. And of course, he's not in business. Many years ago, he went out of business and he has taken a different path. And I think about that guy all the time, because had he quickly learned, they don't have the money, they're not paying me. Me trying to help them is not helping anyone because they can't receive my help and I can't get any money. If he would have shifted faster, he would still be in business. What I find is this comes from a place of feeling like, once again, this whole belief system of I have to earn my place. I have to kind of work my way up this ladder. I have to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
If we let that go and we just look at what's smart, okay, I actually did this little exercise with my boys. I said, hey, boys, let's say you're selling this. Would you rather sell it to the person who's here or the person who's here? In 1 second, they answered the correct answer, right? The person who has the money, the person who's more established. And they kind of looked at me like, Mom, could you not ask us dumb questions? Because the more layers we have of this idea that we have to prove ourselves, then the harder we make it. And also, if we've been taught to believe that making money has to be hard, then we'll take the harder path because I'm going to earn it. I'm going to show that I have what it takes and I'll make it happen and I will huff my way up that hill. The interesting thing is this, is when you have the confidence to look at people who make way more money than you and still be able to see that they have gaps and they have problems and they have desires and they have things that they want that they haven't got yet, and you can give them what they want, they pay a lot better than the people who are at the beginning. But you have to be able to see yourself there. So I think for a lot of people, if you are in the beginning of your business, work on the identity of who you are. Because if you don't work on that identity and you can't live into a future identity, then it's difficult to make strides forward. And what I find is so many people go slower and lower than is necessary, and they do it to themselves. There is no rule when you start your business that you have to do that. But we often look around and go, well, that's just how it is. I have to do that.
And Monique, I think it's because that's what a lot of people hear. That's what we hear, right? Like if you start, you got to start here.
Yeah.
You can't just go up here. You can't just charge premium prices. You just started. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the abilities or the capacity to do it. Right?
Exactly.
And this reminds me, I mean, I was in corporate for 20 years. I left the corporate world last year, and you were the one to hear all my stories, right? Because we were talking, but it was unlearning so much that was taught to me. And hustling. Oh, I can't stand the word hustle. It's always like you got to hustle. It's a hustle and grind. And if you don't hustle and grind, you're not going to get there. And it's like people post their sign, they're, framed. You got to hustle and grind. That's what I saw for 20 years. That's what I heard. Then you go into entrepreneurship and you still hear that. Like, you better not leave your corporate job until you're making the same amount of money or more, and you better hustle for it. And I did all the opposite, right?
Yeah.
But it's been beautiful. And one of the things that I've learned through this journey is, yes, the identity work is super important. And I think that it's something that we're constantly working on, because once you reach a certain identity, then you elevate, you're going to change, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve. Depending on what you're doing, what you're learning, all these things, you're always evolving, because if you're not, then you're disintegrating, right? And it's like, no, we always want to keep growing. But through this journey, the other thing that I heard and you've talked about this before too, is that the rich people, the wealthy, the affluent are the ones that are served the least. Like people believe that they've got the money. Everybody, they're taken care of. But there's a big gap because people focus on the others.
Yep.
So what can you tell us based on your experience on that part where there's a big gap and truly the wealthy are the ones that are underserved?
Well, I will tell you, this is the post. I did a live about this about 8 years ago. It's the live and the post that gets me the most hate on the internet. People are up in arms. Oh, what are you talking about? The rich get catered to nonstop and yada yada. It's the people at the bottom who need the most help. So this is what I would say is just like you said, there's this assumption that if somebody has success or money, they have it all. Well, the first thing you learn once you get a lot of money is that you don't have it all. You have money, but you could still have problems in your marriage. You could still have problems with your children. You could still be overweight. You could still have an autoimmune disease. You could still have mommy issues and daddy issues. Like everything is still there, right? The biggest thing that I find is that people actually it's how we're programmed. I actually watched a reel of Bethany Frankel. So Derek will tell you way back in the day, like she was the person like I had my eyes on. I was just like, I knew she was going to shoot to the top. And I've watched her for so long. And she did a reel the other day. Well, I saw it the other day. I don't know when she recorded it. And she said, if I've learned anything, it's this, that no one wants to hear the plight of the rich. And this is programmed into us. It's like, rich people are bad and poor people are good. And so if you want to do good in the world, you help the poor, you help the underserved, you help people who are at the beginning, and then you're doing God's work, you're doing a good thing.
Mhm.
And because these people are inherently bad, don't have anything to do with them. And she said that she had done a reel about how when she goes out to dinner with her daughter, they go to the beach, she gets so swarmed by people, oh, Bethany, I love you, sign this, do this, can I get a selfie? That her and her daughter and never get time together. So the only way they can have time together is if they're at home. And she said, and that's fine, it's all good and well, but sometimes like you want to go have a memory, you want to go have an experience. But she said, if I've learned anything, no one wants to hear the problems of the rich. And I found that so fascinating. They don't want to hear the problems. And it's a real shame because if they'd listen to the problems, they could provide the solution, they'd get paid for it. And it's very fascinating to me. And we all know this, like it's difficult to go against our parents. And if we're honest, for most people, when they were growing up, their parents said negative things about rich people, or there was one rich person that their parents didn't like. And so then it was this assumption that all rich people are this way. This is the thing you have to unravel if you want to serve the rich, because you can't dislike the people that you attempt to serve. You can't dislike the people that you're going to market to. It doesn't work well. So I invite people to look at, how do you really feel about rich people? And if your parents didn't like rich people, even if you're 47 years old and your parents might even be dead and gone, it's difficult to go against them. You have to work this through and you have to unravel these belief systems that came from God knows who and came all the way through your line.
Yes, so good. All right, Monique. So what do we need to network like the rich? What are the requirements? Tell us.
You have to be willing, right? So number one, you have to want to be rich. If you don't want to be rich, you shouldn't come into my world, because no matter what, I'm an expander and I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to help you see things you've never seen before. And the problem with once you see it, you can't unsee it. So if you're not interested in expanding, if you're not interested in getting rich, you're not interested in other people getting rich, then you should already have clicked off, because I might have already infiltrated your brain. So you have to have this desire to have money. And for me, if you have kids and you don't have a desire to have money, like it breaks my heart, because the last thing I want is my kids to go through life thinking like life is meant to be hard and we got to scrape by and all of these things, right? So you have to want to be able to be rich. You want to be able to provide opportunities for others as well, because when you expand, everyone else does. And you have to be willing to look at this differently. Most people are in an either or camp. It's either like you're a good person or you're a bad person. You like money, you don't like money. You're transactional or you're relational. What life has given me, it's given me lots of situations where it's actually asked me to hold two seemingly opposing things at the same time. There's things that can actually go together that many things in culture have asked us to divide on, to pick and choose. So you have to be able to you have to be willing to challenge how you've thought about things, and maybe it's not this or that, maybe it's both and if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to approach things in a new way, you can network like the rich. Because actually, when you go through these trainings, you're like, oh my gosh, this is very simple. It's very clear, but it does ask us to release all the old ways.
Yes. All right. And for those that are tuning in and are just ready to start networking like the rich, what do you have coming up?
So I have a free 3-day event, and you can go at networkliketherich.com. I'm going to be doing 3 days, 3 trainings of what does it look like to be able to get started on this, shed what you've done before, approach it in a new way. And, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be like all hyped up on my chamomile tea.
Yes. Yes. So one thing is for sure from Monique, she is high energy. If you get into her world, you better strap on because she is going fast. And even if you're not someone who goes fast, there's things that you are going to pick up. There's the replays that are available to you if you upgrade. And there's also the 12-day challenge that is at your pace, and everything that you take from Monique, there's definitely going to be something there for you that, like you said, you're not going to be able to unlearn or unsee certain things once they've been fully exposed. I mean, I guess you could if you're just not wanting to go in that direction. But we will make sure to put the links to her 3-day event. And for those that are interested on the 12-day challenge, there is a post on the group for that. Really jump in, because if you are in this community, it doesn't matter if you are a coach, a healer, an expert, just someone here in corporate or in your business, this same process works if you're just in a traditional corporate job trying to network to get to the top. So either way, join Monique for the 3-day event. I will be there, and I've done the 12-day challenge and a lot of other things. So tune in, connect with her if you haven't. All her contact is going to be there. And thank you, Monique, for just taking time this morning to share this wisdom with us. And we can't wait to continue to hear more from you.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Until next time.
Until next time, bye.